Greetings. This is Chachi here with a phenomenal edition of this podcast here with a phenomenal opportunity here at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., speaking with the senior enlisted person in the United States Air Force, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant Kaleth Wright. Chief Wright, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Good to see you, brother.
So this is absolutely huge, and so for a lot of the stuff that we'll get through when we go through some of the questions, but before we begin, if you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. So like you said, I'm Kaleth Wright, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. Been in the job about a little over 2 years now. Having a blast, man. I love it. Been able to travel all over the world, spend time with airmen of all flavors, from all backgrounds, from all careers, and so yeah, it's just been a great experience. Get a lot of support, man, from the chiefs. And a lot of my friends that I grew up with in the Air Force. So it's just been an amazing experience.
Nice. So talk about growing up. I was going through your bio and looking at all those things from Columbus, Georgia,
yeah.
Which I did not know. So are you a military brat? Did you grow up in a military family?
No, not a military brat. No military family. My biological father was in the Army maybe 4 years. Way back when. But I had no affiliation with the military. Other than, dude, I used to go hang out on Fort Benning, and I used to sneak in the NCO club when I was 15 or 16, and I used to go to the gym. On Fort Benning there's like 7 or 8 gyms. I remember going in the Audie Murphy gym, playing basketball and mixing it up with some of the soldiers out there, but other than that, no military affiliation, man.
So with that, in a town with a huge Army presence, yeah. Why Air Force?
I don't know. So, dude, I went to college in Winston-Salem, North Carolina,
okay.
right when I graduated, and I was trying to game the system, So I was my brother lived in North Carolina. He graduated from Davidson University, okay. So I tried to fake my way as a North Carolina resident and got caught. So anyway, I ended up back home and was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was working at Country's Barbecue, and I was laying on the couch, and my wallet fell out of my pocket. I rolled over, and the Air Force recruiter's card fell out. I looked down at it. This is no bullshit, man. I looked down at it and said, "Should I join the Air Force?" I called a number, and this was in January of '89. In March, I was in San Antonio.
That's amazing. It's so I love how simplistically random that is. Yeah. And then so from that what I would only say is an extremely humble beginning.
Yeah.
Could you have ever imagined your career to putting you here?
No, absolutely not. So when I first came in, I was telling one of my teammates earlier, man, my mother died. I went to Saudi Arabia, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. My mother passed away, right after I came in. So that, along with just being a kid and undisciplined and liking to drink and hang out and all that type of stuff, I had a rough start, and I had a really rough beginning. I had a great mentor that helped me work through all that, and so about when I was a senior airman, I decided that I wanted to be something, wanted to be a chief. But man, initially there's no way, man. I was, as a matter of fact, you've been around, right? So in today's Air Force, I wouldn't have made it. I had too much paperwork. I was too undisciplined. I got in too much trouble. I would have got kicked out.
So with that, one of the things I end up telling people is you hear a lot of complaints that the Air Force is a one-mistake Air Force. I don't believe that at all. You just may be a one-mistake airman.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree.
And so you really need to be. You just need to understand that actions and consequences, or actions and choices have consequences.
Yes. Yeah.
So regardless. So. And then a lot of people are fond of saying, in your case, I enlisted in 1989, mm-hmm. but I joined in 1993.
Right.
Same. So who helped you join, and why was that person so impactful to you?
Man, Joe Wimbush, Master Sergeant retired Joe Wimbush. He wasn't my first supervisor. He was my first superintendent / mentor. I don't know if you ever heard me tell this story, but I graduated tech school. I went home for 7 days, whatever you get when you graduate tech training. And I was hanging out partying with my friends that I had left behind, and I decided, you know what, I need a little bit more time to hang out. So I called Pope Air Force Base, my first duty station, and said, hey, I'm supposed to be there tomorrow, but I'll probably be there next week, something like that. I got a little bit more things to take care of. And whoever answered the phone, they said, okay, no problem. Hold on 1 second. They gave the phone to this dude, man, Joe Wimbush. And he said, and I said, this is Airman Wright. And I started telling the story. He said, man, I tell you what, you better get your butt on that bus and you better be here by 12 o'clock tomorrow. And I was like, man. So I got on the bus, rode all night. And so I showed up. And when I first got off the bus, man, I was coming down the stairs. And he grabbed me by my BDU collar, pulled me off the bus, and just started. Man, I thought I was in basic training again. You know, read me the riot act all the way back to the base. And from that day forward, same day, he picked me up, took me to his house. His wife cooked dinner, spaghetti dinner. He gave me a Miller's Genuine Draft. I was 18, man. He gave me a Miller Genuine Draft and some Chivas Regal. I thought it was the nastiest thing I had ever tasted. Right? But he started from that day, very first day. Hey man, this is why what you did was wrong. This is, you know, how to be a professional. This is what to do with your money. This is how you should look in your uniform. And initially, it wasn't taken, man. But he stuck with me the whole time. And then it took about 2.5, 3 years before I realized, okay, man, this dude is invested in me and trying to help me, and then that got me,
right,
turned around. But,
you know, he wasn't just caring for you as an airman; he cared about you as a human being.
Oh, absolutely. So, you know, like I said, my mother passed away. He kind of saw that if I went on this deployment by myself, I was probably not gonna make it. So he ended up volunteering to go on this deployment. And so the same thing, man. I got over there, I got in trouble, I cursed somebody out and got in trouble, and so he, you know, he was always right there to save me. And then my mother died while I was there, and so when we got back, he literally, without any, you know, I was 18, 19 years old, so, but he basically adopted me as a part of his family. And you know, they lived on base, man. I had a room in his house on base. I took care of their daughter. She was about 5 years old, you know, so she became my little sister. And so yeah, man, it's just been amazing. He lives in Waldorf now, like, so about 30 minutes.
Really?
He later PCS'd up here and retired as a first sergeant out of Andrews. And so yeah, they're close now.
You still get to keep contact?
Oh yeah, we see each other all the time, man. We hang out.
Like the first guy responsible, you know, for grooming you and developing you into who you would eventually become.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That.
Owe it all to him.
So speaking of where you are now, and again from and I have a troubled past. I'd gotten kicked out of a country, gotten kicked off of a deployment. Shit happens, you know it.
Yeah.
I needed to have some of those, but again, I think it's some of these failures that helped us really persevere and understand what we're made of as we progress further. So, but now that you're in your current job, and it's so many things. I remember when I became a chief and then command chief, a whole world kind of opened up of things that I didn't know. What is one thing or a couple things that you would want people to know about your job right now that maybe you didn't know about or understand or even perhaps care about before?
Let's see. Probably the most, this is not interesting, maybe not even unique, but you know, one of the things about this job, the job of the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, I would say is maybe people didn't know about is the from a protocol perspective. Sure. You know, you kind of get the treatment like equivalent to a 3-star general, just protocol. So
you bet.
When you, as far as priority for travel and, you know, lodging, when you go to bases, you know, you get the nice little Gucci lodging stuff. But and then, you know, I would say something I didn't really maybe understand. I had never worked in a Pentagon,
right?
And this is a challenging place, man, to get stuff done. And you know, some of it is just the bureaucracy of us being such a large organization. Some of it is the amount of retired Air Force people that, you know, still working this building, and that could be challenging, you know, sometimes.
So with that, probably a little bit off script, it's one of those things to where I've seen that some of these people just, they kind of hold on to what was,
right,
rather than taking a step back and realizing either what is or what we're trying to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems to be counterintuitive in a lot of places.
It is, man. So sometimes, people still see, even though they're retired, they still see the Air Force through the lens from when they were in.
You bet.
And that could be 5 years ago, and that could be 10 years ago, man. But things change.
Right.
And they change pretty rapidly, and we all have to adjust. But I think I found effective ways to get around, building the right relationships, being patient, and not being. I think the one thing that's helped is, man, you can't be emotionally tied to any program, process, decision. Some things you'll get across the finish line, some you won't.
Take your wins where you can get them, and just keep fighting.
You can get them, yeah. On the road about almost 300 days a year, so that's something that I didn't quite realize about the job, how much time you need to spend on the road. Some of it is just visiting airmen, understanding different mission sets that I wasn't that familiar with, and then some of it is Corona boards, panels, conferences,
NAFSELC, and
yeah.
I don't like. There may be some people who don't know that there's an Air Force Senior Enlisted Leadership Council.
Yeah,
in that. So, would you mind explaining that to us?
Yeah. So, Air Force Senior Enlisted Leader Council. It used to be referred to. I think Chief Roy kind of commissioned it and referred to it as the EBOD, Enlisted Board of Directors. I changed the name to AFSELC, Air Force Senior Enlisted Leader Council, and it's basically myself, all of the MAJCOM command chiefs. We have right now about 5 combatant command senior enlisted leaders that are Air Force, and then some of the select chiefs that work in the building and in other places. Chief Lindsay from AFPC, the chief of the Chiefs Group, some of the chiefs that work in A1D that work on our enlisted force development stuff. But it's really just a council of chiefs that really make all the decisions about things that we do for our enlisted force. So, I tell people all the time, man, I seem to get a lot of the credit for things that happen in the Air Force, just by nature of being in a position. But it really is a team effort, man. We meet often, we talk even more often, and we've recently started using some technology. I think we started off with WhatsApp, and then we went to GroupMe, and now we use something called Signal or something, So, we're able to rapidly kind of get to, we don't rapidly get to decisions, but we can talk more easily without having to meet and do VTCs and all that stuff. But that's the group, man, that I depend on to help me get the right decision. It's very flat, right? So it's not me and then everybody else. So, we go at it, we cuss and fuss, and sometimes, I win, and sometimes, the group says, hey, man, this sounds like a great idea, but this won't work, and we need to move on to something else.
But extremely collaborative throughout the whole process.
Very collaborative, and what I like about it, so it's funny. I get to, I'm the only enlisted guy that goes to Corona, which is a meeting of all of the 4 stars in the Air Force, talk about big strategic issues, and very, very gentlemanly. Officers are very, I don't know if I quite agree with that. Chiefs, man, we like no, this won't work, man. I'm tired of y'all won't.
And just have it out.
Yeah, we have it out, but we always, especially the group that we have now. I don't know if it's always been like this before my time, but I can tell you. I used to hear stories about, before my time. Not really my concern, but I tell you, we have it out. We have our little spats, but we always end up, coming back and saying, okay, hey man, I might not agree, but I'm going to support you. So let's just move forward, which is, I think, is a great thing.
So with that, as far as I think enhancements in technology and definitely social media. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about your street cred on social media is absolutely huge. You seem like you're hitting every platforms, and realistically, I kind of see you paving the way for a lot of just senior enlisted leaders on finding new ways to communicate with our younger generation. Mm-hmm. And you seem to do that from the very get-go. So what is that drive behind that? Like, what started that? How were you able to adapt and really evolve to take up that mindset so quickly?
So a couple of things. The first thing is I wasn't a huge social media guy, but I had a Facebook page already before I got in the job, before, in any of all this stuff. So I was accustomed to, posting and communicating and sharing stories and positive messages and all that. That wasn't foreign to me when I got in the job. But I have a public affairs advisor that's, for the official Facebook page, that helps me write the stories, find the right stories to post, the positive messages that can help get in there and answer questions. And so having, and this is advice, so you mentioned paving the way and having other leaders get into the social media thing. Here's what I would say about it is, you have to be your authentic self. Just like if you were standing in front of Airmen, right? So if you're basically an asshole and then you try to get on Facebook and be, something different.
Yeah, you're gonna be an
right. It won't work. So I think what helps me is that whether on Facebook or, when I'm dealing with Airmen every day, man, I get to be who I am. I don't have to fake it. I don't have to. I'm friends with chiefs, colonels, airmen, staff sergeants on Facebook and in real life, and so I think it's really helpful. And this is the advice, man, I would give to any leader when it comes to using social media. You got to be in or out, right? So on my personal page, I can post today. I might not post another thing. I might not smoke another good cigar for 2 weeks, or find something interesting, and it can just no issue. But when you use it as a communication platform as a leader, you got to be in. You can't. Because people will be thirsting for content. They'll be thirsting to hear what you have to say.
You bet.
Depending on how you have it set up, they'll be asking questions. They'll be commenting on the things that you post, which all requires you to have some level of attention. So either you got to be really good at it, or you got to have somebody that'll help you. Like
interesting. Yeah. So I think that really is great advice, to where if you're only on there like a week or two, people aren't going to look to that spot to get information. Mm-hmm. And so information is either push or pull. Yeah. But you're doing a great job of pushing in information out in ways that I personally hadn't seen before. Yeah, thanks. And so kind of that, having turned in my command chief star, being back at a squadron level. Yeah. So it's very interesting to see what information does or doesn't get to me, and just seeing there at kind of the root level of the Air Force. And as we're trying to revitalize squadrons, empower squadron commanders, so it's interesting talking and being around the airmen, and obviously your picture's up in the office, and obviously the topic of enlisted Jesus comes up quite a bit. And so and obviously being probably an amazing compliment, but understand that there's probably people offended by that, because obviously Jesus is a very distinct Christian religious figure that they probably don't like you being tied to that. Absolutely. What are your thoughts on that, and the compliment versus the offensiveness of it? Yeah, so man, I think you're spot on. And what I've told people, publicly, I think last year at AFSAPAC down in San Antonio, one of the things that I'd said to our airmen was, hey, I appreciate, I think I understand where this comes from. I think it's out of love and appreciation for the things that we've been doing and all that good stuff. So I'm humbled, I'm very appreciative, but I said the very thing that you just mentioned. Be mindful that this could be offensive from a religious standpoint to a lot of people. Now, my team and I, and this is something that I mulled over, for a while, and then I just kind of got past it, because there were some folks who said, "Hey man, you should come out and tell people, don't do it, stop. You should try to ban it and whatever." Now, I'm no genius, Chachi, but I'm almost certain that if I did that, it'd just ramp up. They'd find either some other way, or they would just create more and more memes. And so, to some extent, believe it or not, once I said that, it's at least slowed down a little bit in terms of the number of memes. And then another thing I say is, like, man, these kids are getting good too, though. They are. The photoshopping and everything. So as a Browns fan, I may call you enlisted Baker Mayfield, if you're okay. I don't know if you want the Dak Prescott analogy, but put your head on Dak's shoulder.
Yeah, I'd rather have the Dak. Yeah.
Nice. So as far as that, as far as the communication and what does or doesn't flow up from squadron level, it's very odd for me, because I kind of tell the guys, like, guys, we can talk to the Chief Master of the Air Force, like, you can get on social media and write right away. So what do you think as far as some of our Airman Tier? Mm-hmm. what do you think are either A, some of the problems that we have, or B, some of the advice that you could give to help them find success throughout their either career and or life?
Man, so obviously one of the problems that we're having right now is the, I would say, lack of resilience. You know, some of the suicide stuff. There's this, I think it's somewhat of a, I don't know if I would say it's a fallacy, but there's this, every group of senior NCOs and even NCOs I talk to, they talk about this generation gap, this how this generation, they believe is somehow different from every other generation, and they say stuff like they're undisciplined, they're unappreciative, they want to know why, and all this same shit that, you know, we our supervisors thought about us. But with that said, there is, I think, a gap that exists in senior NCOs and NCOs maybe understanding and being able to assess and therefore deal with our airmen that come in the Air Force today. Now, what I would agree with is they process information much faster. They probably don't have quite the social skills maybe of generations prior to them, maybe because of technology and gaming and all that other stuff. But I think it's something to be celebrated and not you know,
criticized,
ridiculed and whatnot. I mean, think about it. When I have just about everywhere we go, I sit down and have breakfast normally with airmen, like, you know, young first termers, and I ask them, hey, when did you guys get your first cell phone? And they say 6, 8. The latest I've heard was 10. So these kids have been connected to the universe, man, since they were 6 or 8 years old. Imagine their ability to process information, to see something, to decide if it's legit, if they want to believe it or what have you. And we go out and we recruit the best, the brightest, the most athletic, you know, the most innovative, the most creative, and then we bring them in the Air Force and try to, you know, put them in this bubble. It's like, yeah, they're gonna ask why. They want to know why. You can't sell them, you know, a bunch of bullshit. You gotta, you know, that causes all of us to be on our toes. So I think one of the challenges is, hey, we should probably do a better job. When I say we, I'm talking about me and my team of training our senior leaders in this leading across generations, because it's all different. I mean, you could potentially be the superintendent of a work center that has these young airmen, which is probably Generation Z, I think now we're referring it to as, and then everything, you know, up to baby boomers, potentially, and all of them require a different type of leadership style and a different way to approach them. And I'm not quite sure that we've cracked the code in terms of our leadership development and ensuring that, you know, we can close that gap. In terms of advice I would give, airmen, this is advice I would give to young airmen. Man, decide what you want to be in life, and then get busy doing it. You know, one of my favorite books is The Alchemist, and where the author says, hey, once you decide who you want to be, the entire universe conspires to help you achieve it. And you know, most airmen, just like I did, you know, you just hanging out, you're having a good time, you get paid twice a month, whether you work 1 day or 30 days, you know, you got good benefits. There really is no push to decide that, hey, I want to be an astronaut or a chief or anything. You know, most people just, hey, I'm just enjoying it and I'll see what happens. But what I tell them is, hey, man, decide what it is you want to be, and then, like I said, get busy, and then the universe will find you.
You bet. Like, the energy you put out in the universe is the energy that comes back to you.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer, you know, and talking about like the whole like millennial argument with Chief Dave Satchel. You know, he's here, so he's the one who first got me thinking about that. Is, you know, millennials, you know, they're the ones who've never been told no, but they're also the ones who know that there's a yes to be found.
Yeah,
I'll take that attitude 24/7.
I like that.
You know, like I absolutely love that. And so Dave, if you're watching, man, thank you for teaching me that lesson.
Yes, Satch, we appreciate it.
So that's awesome. So we'll take that in the first break, and we'll be right back with more with Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. We'll be right back. Welcome back from break. Again, back here with Chief Master Sergeant Kaleth Wright, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. And again, thank you for making the time. I know how busy you are, so this is just an incredible honor for me. Thank you for being here. And as we talk about some of the Airman Tier, what are and we talk about some of the changes that the Air Force has made and working that way. What are some of the changes you're most proud of since you kind of took office? What problems are you still trying to tackle? And quite at the end of the day, like, what is your favorite part about this job?
So I can't point to any one thing in particular that I'm most proud of. I think I'm most proud that Airmen gave us feedback. Course 14, course 15 wasn't working. There wasn't a need for A1C EPRs and some of those things. I think I'm most proud that we got feedback from airmen, and then we were actually able to do something about it, and ultimately we were able to relieve some stress and give them time back. So that's the thing that I think I'm most proud of, is that some of our change, we didn't just dream up, and it would be nice if I could take credit for having all these ideas, dreaming this stuff up, and then implementing it and all that good stuff. But the reality is, I just listened to what the people said and what they wanted, and then
in your words, squinting with your ears.
Squinting with my ears, and was able to get it done. I think the area that I'm most concerned about, I think I'll finish the rest of my time, is working our performance management system, what we all know as EES, the Enlisted Evaluation System. I don't think we have feedback and performance reporting right just yet. I know we made some changes in the last couple of years, but I'd like to move away from force distribution, the must promote now, the percentages and all that good stuff, and really kind of transform how we promote, how we manage performance, how we provide feedback, how often we provide feedback, the nature and where the responsibility lies in terms of feedback. Because right now, if you're my supervisor, almost all the responsibility is on you. The responsibility is on me to perform, but almost the management process is all you. I basically have no role in it. You have to do my feedback. You have to write my EPR. You have to do the assessment. What I really like to get to is a system that puts a little bit more responsibility on me, the member.
You bet. No one cares more about your career than you.
Yeah. And it doesn't absolve the supervisor of their responsibility,
Sure.
But that shared responsibility, man, I think creates this environment where we can actually have effective communications. We can actually, when we do our feedback, it's going to be an exchange, and there's going to be some understanding of some collaboration and whatnot. So, most of this is based on, I read this book called Helping People Win at Work by Gary Ridge and I forgot his name now. But it's a really, really good book. Gary Ridge is the CEO of WD-40.
Okay.
And it's about how they transform their performance management system. So that's I think what we'll get after in the next year and a half, and then we'll continue to tackle. We'll continue to whatever feedback we get from our airmen, we'll try to take care of as much of that stuff as we can.
You bet. Okay. And then so we talked earlier about something that people didn't know about your job. Like, what is your favorite part about the job?
Yeah, favorite part by hands down, man, is the travel. Is not the act itself of traveling.
That has to be painful.
Being able to get all across the Air Force in every crevice and every corner to see our airmen, to to hear directly from them on what's bugging them, what issues they have, what concerns them, and then the really fun part is being able to participate in some of sometimes it might be out turning wrenches on the flight line, or it might be flying in the back of a CV-22, firing some big guns or whatever. But just being able to get out and visit airmen it's incredible.
Nice. And I can, what a great opportunity. Like, I know that travel has to be just hellacious, but like, what an amazing thing just to have that impact over 270, 280, 290,000 enlisted men and women. That's I think just active duty side.
Right.
I'm sorry, regular Air Force side, not counting civilian guard or reserve stuff like that. But so as we move on from airmen kind of to our frozen middle, the staff sergeants and tech sergeants, what's one thing that you would help them to find even greater success, because they've been caught up in war their whole career. You and I, not necessarily, but this is all they know. That has to be a grind. That has to be grueling deployments, everything else. They've had significant stressors. What advice would you have for them?
You mean in terms of the frozen middle or resist? I mean, what?
Probably both, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you have as far as just them as the NCO tier, and then a lot of that for the resiliency piece? What do they do to help? What I like to say is restore their soul.
Yeah. So I would say, being kind of caught in that as NCOs. Myself, the chief, the SecAF is saying, hey, be innovative, be creative, go long, be bold, think big. And then there's Master Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant, Chief, Captain, Major, whoever that's saying, hold on, wait a minute, let's just keep doing it the old way. What I would tell them is, first and foremost, never be too emotionally tied to whatever it is you're trying to fix, whatever it is you're trying to improve, what have you. So emotional intelligence is one of the key factors that will be important. Because again, like I mentioned, man, the law of nature kind of says sometimes you'll win and sometimes you'll lose. But maybe the most important aspect of that is research, analysis, data. If you come to me and say, hey man, this process sucks, I don't like the way you do your podcast, Chachi, I think you should do something different. The chances of you exploring that conversation more is maybe about 50-50. The chances of you saying, hey, I'm glad you got an opinion about it, but hey, I'm moving on. But if I came to you and said, hey, I've been doing a little research and it turns out that 70% of podcasts fail because they don't use the right kind of camera, or they're too long, or they don't ask these open-ended questions, or what have you. And here's a suggestion on a better way to do your podcast, and I'd be happy to provide you the report and the resources and whatnot. Now you're more likely to listen. And so I tell NCOs, hey man, when you're trying to approach problems and break through that frozen middle, and bring research, bring data, bring analysis, and then bring courses of action.
You bet. And
be willing to talk about, hey, this is what I think, but here's some of the risks that might come along with doing it this way. In terms of their own personal I'll talk about my expectation of them when it comes to taking care of airmen, right? So we have a challenge. We've had a challenge over the last 5 years or so with suicide.
You bet.
No surprise to anyone. Suicide, other destructive, personal behavior. While one of your colleagues, Brett, Barbie, and General Martin, I think they're doing a fabulous job in A1Z that manages all of our resilience programs. But even they would agree the biggest difference, man, that NCOs can make is to be engaging, inspiring, inspirational leaders. I mean, these are your airmen. You see them, you touch them, you work with them every day, and simple stuff. Hey, let me just take 5 seconds to see how you're doing today, and actually listen and try to understand what might be going on. That's how I think we can curb suicide, sexual assaults, DUIs, a lot of those types of issues that we deal with on a regular basis that affect the airman's ability to be resilient. You got a leader in your workspace, man, that cares about you, that takes a little bit of time to understand what's going on with your situation. It makes a much bigger difference than green dot training. And I love all that stuff, right? Love all that training. But to me, that should be complementary to what I'm doing as a leader. Hey, green dot training is great because it fits right in with what I tell my airmen every single day when they leave here, or every Friday when we have our stand-up, or whatever it is. So I just want NCOs to take responsibility, to know and understand, man, that they're empowered and they can actually make a difference in the lives of a lot of our airmen. Yeah, it's challenging, right? But leadership, I mean, that's part of being a leader, is
Right. We're not looking for the easy button. We're looking for the right button.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And then, my message is simple when it comes to their own personal resilience, man. Put your mask on first, right? You can't take care of everybody else if you don't take care of yourself. Find time to go to the gym. Make sure you understand what you're putting in your body. Make sure you're getting the appropriate amount of sleep. And then however you deal with your spiritual and mental fitness, that's and I would just say be deliberate about it, right? It's not just gonna happen. You're not just gonna find time, to go to the gym. You got to be deliberate about scheduling time to take care of yourself.
You bet. It's funny you bring up the oxygen mask. Dr. Janelle McCauley taught me that.
Yeah.
She was one of the squadron commanders in my first command chief gig, and so she and I still talk and collaborate like every week, every other week, and so I bought into her message, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, mindfulness, man. She's
on it.
She is on it.
Yeah. So I absolutely love that. So some of your resiliency things. So we talk. So what are some of your hobbies? Like what do you do? What do you like to do? Like you as just a human being, because dare I say it, you are a human being.
Absolutely.
Has likes and dislikes, successes and failures. So what do you do for you?
Yeah. So my hobby is golf, man. I love golf, and it's a big stress reliever for me. Not just playing golf, but practicing. So when I got stuff on my mind, I'll go to the driving range and hit balls just to clear my mind. And then any opportunity I get, any free time I get, when I'm not hanging out with my wife, you typically find me on the golf course. So that's something that probably I've been playing about 17, 18 years now.
Nice.
And because it's mentally challenging, right? It's and you can't win, you can't beat golf. You can just play.
Right.
So and then I'm most people, if you follow me on Facebook, love cigars, good scotch, and kind of chilling out with friends. So just about every city we go to when we're done with the day's work and meeting with the command teams for dinner or whatever, we'll try to track down a local cigar lounge, cigar bar, and just kind of unwind and relax for the day. I love working out. I bought me a Peloton.
Nice.
So I don't have any excuses.
Right.
Now I still like going to the gym because I'm big into. I started about 2 years ago jumping rope, something I discovered, which is never been a lover of running, but so I get my cardio from jumping rope, and but I wanted to eliminate. I read Jocko Willink's I think Discipline Equals Freedom,
Yes.
the manual. And he talked about the most important thing he ever did was put a gym in his house. So he eliminated all the excuses of no parking, it's too cold, the machines are all full. And he said, I can play my music as loud as I want in my home gym. So I don't have a home gym, but I did buy a Peloton so I can get a workout in when time is crunched. And
You bet.
Can't make it.
Oh, see, and if you ever follow Jocko, I love his Instagram. He takes a picture of his watch at like 4 o'clock every morning.
Yeah.
He puts it on Instagram, and he's out there getting after it and having a good time.
Very, very inspirational, man. I really like his stuff.
You bet. So go backtracking a little bit. I probably advanced these questions more than I should have. But you're talking about some of these people who kind of keep doing it the old way, who like despite some of your messaging, So if we're revitalizing squadrons and empowering squadron commanders, and we're not waiting for you, that like to do the right decisions. I've been telling people like me at squadron level, if I don't follow that messaging, I make you a liar.
Yeah.
And so that has been so important. Have you? Because it seems to get like whittled down to like, well, I get that they said it, but it doesn't really play out like that.
I tell you, man, in my travels, I've met probably, it seems, and this is a very uneducated assessment or guess, it seems to be about 70-30. About 30% of the commanders and command teams I encounter saying, yep, got it. I'm moving out. You told me to think big, to go along, don't wait for you. I mean, they're doing it. They're innovating. They're slashing away extra and additional stuff that they don't need, and they're not worried about, waiting for some AFI or more guidance. But it seems to me that about 65-70% of the bases I visit either are doing nothing in terms of being innovative and taking risk and being bold, or are still waiting on more guidance. I'm waiting on an AFI or something to change, and you know, I just try to reinforce to him that, hey man, this is real. You know, the boss he's a risk taker, and the SECAF is war. You know, we're all about allowing you guys to innovate and take charge of your formations and get after stuff. You just got to do it.
Right.
And but I understand what it is. You mentioned earlier about one mistake, Air Force. So I think, you know, we've had a culture in the Air Force for a long time where making mistakes was not okay. So I think that some command teams are still a little bit hesitant because initially when we rolled this out, we didn't square up and deconflict with IG. So what was happening was, hey, be bold, go long, take risks, don't do this, and then the IG would come in and say, well, wait a minute. AFI says you should be doing this, you're not doing it, and they were getting dinged. So then we circled back, we got IG on board. And,
nice.
And, so yeah, I think the environment right now, man, is just ripe for, you know, commanders, command teams, leaders to take risks, to do things, to think outside the box, to allow people to innovate. And, you know, this is a good thing about it. Man, the boss and we as an Air Force, we put our money where our mouths are, right? So we infused about, I think, almost $70 million out into the Air Force this year to each wing commander for squadron innovation funds.
Nice.
You know, and this money is specifically designed for innovation. And of course, you know, some of the larger things you probably saw at AFA. We did the Spark Tank.
Yes.
And so, this is
that went viral.
Yeah. So this is just I think a great environment for people to take advantage of, and I would encourage them.
And so if you're not doing any of those things, speak up, say something, do something, take him at his word.
Yeah.
I mean, just say something, message something, talk to your leadership, hit him up on social media. I mean, just do something, because it's not just you have the right to, you're obligated to communicate, right? It is an obligation. So please help him out. Help out the Air Force, my beloved Air Force that I leave here in a few months. So quick plug, I'll say it.
Yeah.
You know, not having you say that. But
congratulations too, brother.
Oh, thank you very much. Really looking forward to being a dad again, you know, and being around. So that's great. So it's a little bit of smile on our faces. Like, so what's something about General Goldfein that you would like to share with us that most people probably don't know? I'm not looking for dirt or anything, whatever. Just something, the human side of him, perhaps.
Yeah. He's a good golfer. He enjoys the same as me. Good scotch and a nice smoke. That's one of the things that sometimes we get to do together to kind of unwind and talk about, mostly about life. Not we get enough time to talk about Air Force. So typically during our social time, you know, we talk about life and family and all that type of stuff. And he plays the guitar. So sometimes when we have social events and we have the Air Force band playing, he'll jump in and play a tune with them. So pretty talented.
I didn't know that. Hi, nice.
Yeah, and he's a mean ping pong player too. We went to Maelstrom, and we spent the night out in one of the in the missile field with the defenders, and they had ping pong tables. So we didn't have anything to do but hang out. And man, he kicked some butt. I got my butt kicked all night. But he was.
Who wins on the golf course?
We're about even.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
fair. So Toad, as the wrap up question to this, I'm not sure if there's any other question I would want to ask to end a podcast, but we've been at solid war for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. Engagements around the world, global reach, global vigilance, global power, global awesomeness. You know, throughout all that stuff. What have you learned about warfare and the Air Force's role in it that you'd like everyone to understand?
First, there's not much, really not anything that we do in terms of warfare that's not joint. And I think the Air Force, whether it's command and control, obviously air superiority, which includes, you know, your business of CAS, the Air Force is very well respected in the joint environment, not because we have, you know, leaders in the joint environment, but I'm talking about the airmen that are on the ground, day in and day out, making the mission happen. From airmen that are sitting in jocks and you name the AOR, to airmen that are out, driving convoys and whatnot. So there's a tremendous amount of respect for our Air Force and our airmen. So much so when I was in Afghanistan, one of the groups that we had was managed the Jet and IA program, and so we had at any given point about 1,800 airmen that were assigned to joint joint billets across the force. And many Army commanders would say, hey, the best soldier I have is an airman. And they would, I hate to use these terms, they would actually pass them around. Once their mission ended, they would call up their buddies in some other fob in some other place and say, hey, I got this airman. He's doing great work. He came here to be a driver or a cook or whatever, but we got him out, sweeping mines or what have you. And they would, and we got that cleaned up. We had a team that went in and validated all of those positions. But I would just say, man, our airmen are just doing God's work, and particularly when it comes to warfare. When you go into the AOR, you'll see what I would consider a laser focus. 2 years ago, I was I think we were in Kuwait, if I remember correctly, and a lieutenant colonel, he stood up and said, hey, Chief, out here, we're getting after the mission. There's this laser focused. Airmen are just boom. How can we get this and take this mentality back to, stateside? And what I told him was, one, it'll take great leadership, and two, it's really hard because when you're over here, you may have a cat or a dog or what have you, but you don't have to be immediately concerned about that. You got your mission, you got your teammates, and you can focus. And sometimes when we were back home, we got all kinds of other things, and the camaraderie is different. When you're here, you don't get to say, hey, I'm not going to live on base beside. When I get off work, I want to go home, an hour away and not deal with military people, like sometimes we tend to do while we're in the States. But that's one of my big takeaways is that the laser focus that our airmen have, and the significance of air. If you think about any potential conflict that we would have, there is a significant air component to it. So I would say the need for us to continue to be relevant in the joint environment is extremely important.
Absolutely. And I love the point. At war, like life is simplified, but the mission is amplified.
Right.
And so I think that's an amazing answer. I think sometimes they don't really see how much the Air Force impacts daily lives. Like just even now, even here stateside, like all the stuff that AMC does to move everyone all over the world, the things that Spec Ops are doing on a daily basis, that ACC does, flying the skies around here just to help. Amazing when you sit back and look big picture. Yeah. It's amazing the job that airmen do every day.
I would say one other thing, kind of loosely relevant to this line of that question is, one of the things I would encourage our leaders and senior NCOs to do is to make sure airmen are connected to the mission. Make sure they understand the why. And of course, the closer you are to the pointy end, so if you're a crew chief for a fighter that's taking off dropping bombs, okay, you got it. Nobody, mostly don't have to explain to you your purpose and why you exist. If you're a maintainer, kind of same thing. The closer you get, the further you get away from the pointy end. Sometimes people struggle understanding how they actually contribute to the mission. And I think that's, again, a leadership responsibility to make sure people know, hey, this is what the Air Force priorities are, this is what we're doing, and this is how your particular role contributes. But don't patronize people.
Right.
So don't say, hey, so I grew up as a dental tech, hey, you cleaning those teeth is putting bombs on target. No, it's not. Medical care and all that stuff plays a very critical role, in garrison medical care, but don't patronize people into believing that You file.
Just have a real conversation.
It's a real conversation. You filing papers is, depending on which papers you file.
Right.
You're not putting bombs on target in Afghanistan, but because I've seen that from leaders sometimes too.
You bet. And so Chief, I absolutely appreciate your time. And again, so we talked about my concept of CAPE. We talked about how we care even here. We talk how we care. We talk about how you can align yourselves and your MAGCOM chiefs, and talk about some of our alignment with our communication to get that going. How you get differing perspectives, just even at your level, to get information and letting people reach out. And then lastly, you said a couple different times about your expectations of people and what you have in the United States Air Force. So again, I'm extremely honored to have gotten this time with you. Thank you for being on the podcast, and thank you so much. And I wish you nothing but luck and success in the future. I appreciate your time, Chief.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks to you, and congratulations on the retirement, man. I look forward to seeing you on TV someday.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Chief. And we'll catch you here next time. This is Chacha reminding you to educate, anticipate, and dominate. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.